Serie A in the 90s, every club was rich.
25 years ago, they used to be able to go into the market and spend 30 million.
Two biggest names of world football are Real Madrid number 1 and Barcelona number 2.
Why would the Premier League clubs go along with it? Doesn't make sense.
Everybody in the Premier League should be able to win the Premier League.
It's not going to happen. It can never happen.
I think Everton have always been too nice. Every time they've had things go against them, they don't fight it. Welcome back to FootyCast with Nermal and Jules.
Hello.
In this episode, we're going to discuss FFP or whatever it is, profit and sustainability rules, or the financial side of the game.
Yeah.
Well, obviously, for FFP rules favour Liverpool and don't favour Everton.
Yeah, they do.
I think a place to start.
Yeah. But I mean...
So what are your thoughts on it? What do you think?
The thoughts on FFP, I mean, I think it's... I'm all for it. It's a bit... Obviously, it depends who you support, because I think it's a system that sort of, right now, if you're trying to break the cartel, so to speak, it makes it very difficult. But then, in order to compete with the likes of state-backed teams, a la City or PSG in France or whatever, it makes it difficult to even compete against these teams if FFP is not in place.
Okay.
So I think, as a system, I'm for it. But then I think sort of like what's happened with Everton now, I'm not too sure, because like you've been hit with sanctions already this season, and it's again coming in for the second time. I'm a bit confused to how that's happened and the reasoning behind that, or like.
I think everybody is.
Yeah.
Well, you got to look. Well, my sort of point against it, and it's not really based on just Everton, it's just the principle of it.
Yeah.
If you have a business, which is what football clubs are now, you should be allowed to spend whatever you want to invest in the club, you should be allowed to spend.
True.
Now, my caveat on it would be that whoever's putting the money in shouldn't be putting putting the club in jeopardy.
So the club should be liable for whatever.
No, if they want to put money in, like Mashiri's put the money in Everton.
Or Abramovich.
Most of it, or Abramovich in Chelsea.
Yeah.
Well, Abramovich in Chelsea is the best, I think, example.
Yeah.
He's put the money in and then written it off.
But that's it.
At no point were Chelsea ever in a point where they would have collapsed if he just pulled out.
Yeah.
And when he took over, they were in that position where they were basically nearly gone as a club. And he's built them into basically a European powerhouse.
Yeah.
I think there's nothing wrong with that. And the money's put in. Because the thing is this. I'll give you the example. Serie A in the 90s, every club was rich.
That's true. Yeah.
And if you actually look at the distribution of like superstar players, it's like Fiorentina had Batistuta, had Careca, had like Baggio at one point.
Lazio as well.
And Lazio, if you look at these clubs, they're not the tier 1 clubs. They're not Juventus, Inter Milan or AC Milan.
Yeah.
And those clubs had fantastic players, but all the other clubs, Lazio, Napoli had Maradona and Careca.
Yeah.
Fiorenina's players, if you look at who they had, Parma came up.
Yeah.
Because they're all the thing what happens is people think there's like the state club runs, but the problem is in the Premier League it's not so bad because you've got Man City and Newcastle, and then there'll be other clubs come in because all the American billionaires want to give them. Once you buy so many players, you can't buy every player. So once you fill up your squad, if you limit the squad number to say you can only have 25, or I think you've got to have some rule where you allow youngsters to develop as well. So you can have this many players, and then you've got to have. The squad's got to be your own youth team players. All right, they can go and buy them like Chelsea and Man City.
You can't you? Yeah.
But you allow the clubs to spend. They can only buy the 20, 25 players. There's still a load of players the other clubs can buy. Now, obviously, on a Premier League basis, it'd be good for the Premier League and maybe not so good for other leagues. But that's not our problem. For this moment.
Yeah.
But if you had that, then all of these clubs could compete. Because, Man United can spend what they want to spend. Man City, Liverpool can spend it. Arsenal, all the clubs with the big revenues. But then the other clubs to catch up. Because you got to remember, like a Newcastle and Everton and all of these clubs, even Aston Villa, their revenue is only around about the 200 million mark.
I'd say.
It's whatever. It's basically the big bulk of TV money plus a little bit.
And then I'd say.
And they don't have the other revenues because they can't. Because unless you get into the Champions League or something else, you can't make the revenue.
You hamstrung, aren't you, by the rules now?
Because you're 100 million down on Champions League money.
Yeah.
With the TV money you get for Champions and the other bits of prize money, you're immediately 100 million behind those 4 clubs who are in the Champions League.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Then it's the commercial revenue, which is around about 200 million a year for each of the bigger clubs. So you've got no chance to compete unless you can invest in the club. And realistically, any club that wants to catch up to that lot has to spend 200 million a season for 3 or 4 or 5 seasons
years in order to catch up.
and gradually catch up the thing to basically just to justify, to meet up that revenue. So FFP for me kills the game because it's not a sporting event. Yeah. It's the established and everybody else.
True. It's keeping the big boys where they are and keeping the little guys sort of out the club, if you like.
And I can understand from your point of view or a Man United point of view where they can go, we can't spend. But the problem is you will be, because you've still got the revenue to spend that amount of money. All will happen is, and your investors will have to put in the money, which, all right, the current ones won't, but they will.
Yeah.
If you're a Man United fan, Man United have spent more on players than any other team in the Premier League.
Yeah.
More than Man City. So the people who are going on that Man City have whitewashed all this, whatever they've done, basically, it's not whitewashed, like money washed this league is probably the better word.
Yeah.
They've spent the money to buy the league. But Man United has spent more money in the same period, and how come they haven't?
That's very true, yeah. And also, United, I remember 25 years ago, they used to be able to go into the market and spend 30 million in 2001 on Varane. And at the time, that was big money. So it's... They were always doing it.
Why did Man United win the league? It wasn't on merit of sporting. No. It's because they were the club that hit the money ground fastest.
Exactly.
They developed the commercial side fastest, the most. Which is good.
Yeah.
But that's not the reason you're winning is because you've got more money to spend than everybody else. Yeah. So why are you getting upset when a Man City or somebody else comes along? Now, that doesn't make sense to me. And then Liverpool's, I can understand Liverpool's argument is a bit more rational because they've been successful sporting-wise before when it was more even ground. And even now, they're really playing in more even ground. They've never been in a position where they're the numero uno with the most money.
Yeah.
Liverpool have been good in the Champions League, which has made them the revenue. So they've managed to keep on the coattails of these clubs. They're not that far behind. I think they've been the highest earning one in the Premier League when they won the Champions League, I think, or the League One of them. Yeah. You've been at the top of that when you've had a really good season. But you've been close. Yeah. And obviously the global following and the thing keeps it running. And you've always been in the Champions League most of the time.
Yeah.
That makes sense. I don't think it ruins it though, and I don't think it really affects the clubs there that much. It's having competition just makes them better. And it's a sporting matter. Everybody in the Premier League should be able to win the Premier League. Give or take the bottom 3 clubs in the first bit. Everybody else, the other 16, 17 teams should be able to win. And then the ones in the bottom 3 should be able to compete, a la what Forest discharges against. But Forest are a big club, really, in the background and history. They're normally in the first division. They've normally been around there.
So I guess, the rules should be tweaked.
And they've won the top division once, and they've won the Champions League, or the European Cup twice.
Yeah.
They're not a minnow of nobody who's never done anything in, they're the only club who's won more, more European Cups than they've won league titles.
No, they've got history, for sure. So I guess you probably make a good point, because I think so long as someone comes in, dumps in their money, but then it's not attached to the club as far as the club's liable, should they choose to walk away?
If they walk away, they've got to write off the debt. That's my thinking. So basically, then it's a proper sustainability rule.
Exactly, sustainability.
My argument on that basis is that if they put in the money, like say Mashiria's, and they get 500 million, he can sell it, and like if somebody owners coming and they take the money they put in and that he gets his money, I have no issue with that business. But if something happens or he's got the money he's pumping in, he just writes it off. Yeah, like Abramovich has basically done. 2 billion, all right, I've write it off. Yeah, that's an investment in the business. Whether it's succeeded or not, I've write it off. That's it. Yeah. So the survival of an Everton or Chelsea or whoever it is never in doubt. Yeah. So the fans aren't losing out, because at the end of the day, if you say the fans are the most important thing, they're not losing their club. Yeah. Whether the investment's been successful, a la like Chelsea or Everton, where you can argue the case. I'm not sure it's as unsuccessful as people make out. Yeah. So that's my argument on there. And then we'll get to specifics, because you asked about Everton as one. The reason Everton are in the situation is because of COVID, because of the war in Ukraine, and I'll come to the reasons why. But COVID, that, and they're building a stadium. The reason they've been charged is because they weren't allowed to capitalize the interest payments that they're making to build a new stadium. It's got nothing to do with the first team.
Right. Okay.
So when you've had no sporting merit out of it, no on-pitch advancement, which we haven't because we've basically been in the same position.
Yeah.
And we haven't gained anything. Why are we being punished on the pitch? We should have been given a fine, maybe, or something like, don't do it again. You've been naughty.
A financial penalty, but not
a la the Super League issue.
It
should have been like, you've got to pay, 5 million over whatever it is, or £1 million, whatever the penalty is, because you've overstepped the mark.
But points deduction's a bit.
Points deduction's just wrong because there's no on pitch gain.
Yeah.
We're not a club who should be fighting relegation. We're fighting relegation because the FFP rules have put us in this situation.
Yeah.
If we could ignore those rules and the sustainability rules, we'd been in the top half of the table.
Yeah.
Because we wouldn't have to sell our best players and had to try and balance the books for that. And the thing is, Everton have actually worked with the Premier League to make sure everything's good. And the other part is, under the actual rules that are in existence when we've done what we've done, we wouldn't be sanctioned. They've changed the rules after the event to sanction us. So the 10-point deduction is a complete and utter joke.
It's
It's just the Premier League trying to look like they don't need an independent government body when all they're doing is making it more look like it.
Yeah.
And now that's just stupid. And then Forest's one. Now, I don't know all the ins and outs, but obviously they bought all the players when they came up to try and stay in the league and help them stay in the league.
20-odd players in one summer.
Yeah, again, I have no issue with it because they're being realistic of what do we need to do to stay in the league. How do they survive? Otherwise, they're just going to go up and go down.
Back down,
the squad wasn't good enough to stay in the league. So I have no issue with it. Because again, as long as it doesn't threaten the survival of Nottingham Forest as a club, so the fans aren't losing out.
Should be the key thing, yeah.
And again, what's their sporting merit on it? Yeah, the clubs that went down argued, but they could have done the same thing.
Yeah.
Do I have any sympathy for them? No, because on the pitch, you've gone down. It is what it is. So those clubs, when they're trying to, like Leeds and co, trying to sue Everton, I think that's despicable. You've got no reason to do it. You could have done the same thing. You haven't. You're sore losers. There's no reason why you should be stayed. You don't deserve to stay in the Premier League.
Because but then
because we haven't cheated for it. You're trying to knock us back when you don't. When you know what the reason is, and they've worked with the league.
But then again, I think you could be in trouble though, because there was a bit of a precedent set by, remember Sheffield United and West Ham in 2007-8, was it? When there was the whole Tevez and Mascherano thing, and I think when he went to court, West Ham had to pay some sort of compensation to Sheffield United because, again, they broke the rules. Sheffield United went down by...
What was the rule they broke? Do we know?
So, third-party ownership of Tevez and Mascherano. There was something that...
Yeah, but that's actually breaking the rules. That's actually fiddling for a sporting game.
Of course.
So that's not the same thing.
So I think the likes of...
They deserve to be sanctioned.
The likes of Leicester, whoever went down last year, Leicester, who were the other two?
There's Leicester, Leeds and Burnley, I think we're more...
Leeds and Burnley. I mean, Leicester are probably going to come back. They're going to bounce straight back up, so they're probably not going to be that aggrieved. But whoever stays in the Championship could probably sort of try and go after these...
But on what basis?
There's no merit
There's
to
no
it.
basis to go on. They can come after it, but they're never going to win.
There's no basis of merit to it. But, they can moan. You can see, sort of...
Oh, no, I can understand why they moan or the fans moan, but you've got no basis on which to do it. No sporting one, no financial one, or no other one.
There's nothing whatsoever.
You just weren't good enough. You went down. Take it, spend that whatever focus on getting your club back in the Premier League.
True. But then they could argue, similar to, say, a Liverpool fan arguing against, oh, look, in 2014, we were against Man City going for the title. We played by the rules. They didn't. Therefore, there's an issue.
But what rules?
These FFP rules, whatever they are.
No, but exactly. The FFP rules are a joke. They've changed them as what they are.
I agree.
Is there any reason that they should Man City be stripped of titles? No. All their football system. Because if they didn't have it, then the Premier League, the Sky in the Premier League would lose out the money. Because they've made the division better.
Yeah.
And they've made you better, because if they weren't there, Liverpool wouldn't have been as good as they were over that time. Yeah, you may have won, but you might not have.
Yeah,
because would you be as good if Man City hadn't pushed you in those seasons? They pushed you, and then the next season you were that good. You carried on. They fell off a bit, and COVID came. and you won the league. I'm not sure you wouldn't have been as good if Man City. It's like Ronaldo and Messi. I don't think either would have been as good if the other one wasn't there to push them.
But then there's an argument that they kept pipping us because their squad was that much bigger and full of more quality. Which again,
you could have bought the place.
But then we decided
your ownership decided not to put the investment in. I think it's not just following FFP. They just didn't have invested as much.
They're being stingy.
They're trying to make money.
Yeah.
And Man Cities are trying to win.
Of course. But if I'm trying to play devil's advocate, trying to look at the other side.
No, I'm not saying. I was just saying that's my argument against it. I don't think it's
it's a fact.
The best league, like I said, ever, and it's still ever, is at least at the age I've seen. Maybe before there was different ones.
Yeah.
But the best league of football I've ever seen is Serie A, and it was because you could watch the 6th team or the 7th team, and they had at least three world class players in the team.
Yeah.
And in what world? People keep going on about the Premier League. Where is the 6th level team that's got a player like Batistuta? And it wasn't just Batistuta; they had 3 great world class players.
Yeah.
But a striker like Batistuta playing we've been. I think in an earlier video we're going to do about Arsenal having Gabriel Jesus. Yeah, he's a good player. But Batistuta is a world-class, top-level uber striker.
Argentina,
and he played for Fiorentina.
Your Crespos playing at...
And Fiorentina weren't the top tier of football. And they were still, at that point, Juventus, Inter Milan, AC Milan, the other, Roma, Lazio, and these teams. But these Lazio and Fiorentina could compete. Course, and Parma, who came from nowhere, which is a 3rd Division 1, and they came up to compete because the Parmalat could put the money in to make them into a team that could compete, who got into Europe and got into things.
And they bought Thuram and all them players.
They had a fantastic place. Well, I think they had Baggio for a bit. They had other players. So where in the world is a team from the 3rd Division going to get there? And Baggio at his peak was probably the best player in the world.
Yeah.
And you can make an argument that he's one of the best of all time, and probably is one of the best of all time, playing at a club like that.
Oh, look, I fully
where in the
agree,
Premier League can we say that the same thing?
It's a bit of a close shop, isn't it? And really, the dream should be that in any given year, you could have the fairy tale of Leicester. But really, that's so unlikely. That's like a once in 100 years sort of thing. And it shouldn't be like that.
No, it should be any of these. Yeah, you have the difference in sizes, but in the Premier League, there's not just, I know they're going about fans, but if you actually look at them from the clubs that have come in and with over their history, there's about 10 clubs that could argue that they can winning. Aston Villa have 7 league titles, right? They won 5 in like the beginning of time in the 1900s or 1800s or whatever. They won like 4 or 5 in a row, and then they've only won the spaced out ones. But still, they've got 7 league titles. They're entitled to be in that conversation in 4th place. But they've never really been allowed to compete. Now they've competed because they've put in good players, and they've got some money as well. And put it, however they've done, they built up a decent squad. But we've said, we still don't expect them to win. But they should be. The fairy tale should be there.
I'd say. Long are gone the days of a Forest getting promoted and then becoming European champions within 3 years. That's it's not going to happen. It can never happen. Which is why sad. Not? It's sad. Yeah, it's.
And that's my argument. It's a nonsense argument because they go on about like these clubs are going to win forever. They aren't. Because if Newcastle go and, say for example, Newcastle go and spend all the money, you can only buy so many world-class players.
Of course.
If your squad, if you make the rule that the squad's got to be, like, you can only buy this many players, 25 or whatever the squad level is, anybody else is either not in the list or outside. Nobody's going to, a world-class player ain't going to go there if they can't play. Irrespective of money, and they can't even be in the squad to play.
Yeah.
Then the next team can buy the next set of players, and then the next team can buy the next set of players. But you're still going to have competition. And Liverpool have enough name. I don't think they're going to have an issue of doing it. Man United aren't going to have it. And Man United spent more money.
No,
you're still going to have the bigger clubs doing more because they've got name. So but then a Nottingham Forest or somebody else could spend the money and catch up and do it.
Can at least have a chance to potentially compete.
Yeah, they may not win, but they're going to compete.
Because like you said, the big boys will always have that step ahead.
Well, in Italy, it was still AC Milan, Inter, Juventus winning more. Yeah. But there was the other clubs still came in and had a chance.
Which makes the league better.
And it was really competitive.
Makes the league better, doesn't it?
And you could go as like a Fiorentina and you're watching, let me see what plays there. But you can have all the top teams had great players.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Not just the Milan, the Milan and Inter Milan sides and things had, Juventus had great players. But but even in your teams, you're still going to watch your team. But you're not going to, or you might not be winning, but you've got a chance of getting to the Champions League. at least you know that, and you got a chance of competing for the title.
Yeah.
And you're watching 3 world-class stars, at least, in your team. Does that not make for a better spectacle? As a fan, I'd love that.
No, it does, yeah.
You know, we got Hammers for one season when he's half dead.
Yeah.
And the difference he made to the team is like, difference just of watching. You're excited about watching because you think this guy could do something in a game which nobody else can do.
Exactly,
And we were, because people started taking us seriously. Man United wouldn't loan us the players because they thought you were a competitor.
Yeah. So no, I fully agree. I think for the league as a whole, in order to have a competitive league, you need to have more than 4 strong teams, 4 or 5. If you could
you need to have, most of the teams should be strong. Right? You're still going to have like a top half and a bottom half. But the teams that are in that mix are always going to be big because you've got bigger fan base because you've already got a big fan base. But the external fan base, like a Liverpool and Man United have, is only because you're playing in the Champions League and you're in a worldwide audience. If the other clubs play there for a season or 2,
it'd be the same thing.
Like Tottenham. Tottenham weren't in, they were there, but they weren't that much rich because obviously they're London based, so they're still high up. But before they moved to the new stadium, and I think they weren't in that financial capacity.
Of course,
They got to the Champions League final, which we all knew they could have lose against you guys. And then they built a stadium. Out of that, they built a stadium, got the revenue, and they've got recognition as a big club. How many league titles have Tottenham won?
Not since 61.
Yeah.
Isn't it? Yeah.
How many have they won in
How
all
many
in
have they won?
total?
I'm not too sure, but yeah, I just
Go
know
on, take a guess. I know the answer, but I want to just double check.
If I was to hazard a guess, 3, 4?
In the whole history?
Yeah. Just 2.
And the last one, like you said, I think is 1961. Let me just put in. I'm just going to double check so you don't make any Tottenham fans unhappy.
Because I know they won the double in 61, but that's about it. I know.
That was the last time I think they've won the league, Tottenham League titles. They've been close.
Yeah.
2 league titles, I was right.
2 league titles?
They won 8 FA Cups and 4 League Cups and 7 Community Shields.
It's crazy, isn't it?
And they have 1 European Cup Winners' Cup and 2 UEFA Cups.
And the last time they won a trophy was always...
And then say you can make the argument, they won the European Cup. Forest won it twice.
Yeah.
Who's the big club? Who's the small club?
Aston Villa.
Forest won 1 league title as well.
Yeah.
They've only won 2.
Yeah. So really, on paper...
Well, on history, if you judge it over not just the Premier League, the whole history of the thing.
No, of course, yeah.
Who's a big club and who's a small
Forest
one?
are more, decorated, if you like, so... No, FFP, I think... Yeah.
No, it's a tricky thing because you have got to protect it a bit. But I think you put in a pragmatic, like I said, you can only have so many players. Say 20 is the limit of like uber stars or whatever. Then you would have 5 of like you've come through your youth academy or something. Because you also want to protect that line. And the thing you don't want is where you just kill your own youth. Yeah. Because that'll kill like the England team and everything else. And, or other teams. You want to have a youth pathway in. So you can limit the number of players. And then every team can buy because, if you get past the first 2, you can go and shop at the next level and then the next clubs and the next clubs. You're going to have about 10 clubs that are competing.
But I think, unfortunately, the super clubs
will still win. But it's exciting.
Yeah. It is. But I think they're always going to try and find a way to stay where they are and keep as many teams outside of that club as they can. Because even the whole Super League thing, I mean, obviously that didn't go through. But I think how they've now revamped the Champions League going forward, it's essentially like another version of a Super League because this whole thing of I think it's the top 2 performing leagues get 5 teams automatic going into the Champions League. That's another way.
I'm just bringing up the all-time standing because I want to
trying to make sure that the big teams are always going to be in the Champions League.
Do you know my conspiracy theory about the Super League?
Yeah.
Who's heading it up? Real Madrid and co, isn't it?
I mean, they're the ones that are shouting the loudest.
It's a chance for Real Madrid and Barcelona to sort of curtail the power of the Premier League clubs because in that conversation, they're the biggest clubs.
But that's never going to happen because why would the Premier League clubs go along with it? It doesn't make sense at all. I mean, recently, I think they tried to like revive it because
what they've changed is make it more. What they want to get away from is like the Champions League to theirs, so they can get more money.
Yeah.
And who does it make sense for? Well, it makes sense for the top Italian clubs. It makes sense for top Liga clubs.
Yeah.
German clubs, I'm not so more because I don't think that. Well, it was the German. I think it was Bayern Munich or one of the Borussia Dortmund's guy who said he said the only reason they want to make it is because they want to curtail the power of the Premier League clubs. He goes, they're trying to induce them in, but he goes because they earn too much TV money and they can't compete.
But why would England? It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, why any Premier League club would join doesn't make any sense.
It's senseless.
Apart from Tottenham, nobody else makes sense.
It's senseless
because they can just say that's the one win they've got of something.
And especially for Barcelona and Real Madrid, it's so hypocritical.
They want to do it because in world football, no matter what we say about Man United, Liverpool, and Co, the two biggest names of world football are Real Madrid number 1 and Barcelona number 2. They're the two biggest clubs in the world by how much sport they have because of Ronaldo and Messi. I think Real Madrid because of their success.
Of course,
it's ridiculous. 14 Champions Leagues, and they've always been, the top level club. They are the best club in the world.
Galacticos and all that.
They're the best club in the world.
They are the club, aren't they?
And Barcelona have sort of weren't, but they've always been. They're huge in terms of following because of their region and everything else. Because the Catalan region, they're like the Catalan capital, and they're the like opposite of the opponent of Real Madrid, from that region. And they've got a huge following there, everything. But because of Messi and Co and all their bits of success, they're the second club really.
Cruyff,
but
Messi,
they're first and second clubs basically competing. They've had a huge following. None of the other clubs at that level, not PSG, not Bayern, not any of the Premier League clubs, have that name and standing. So when people go to Man United, the biggest club in the world, no, they're not.
No, they're not. Not globally.
No,
they're up there, but it's not that.
In the Premier League, yes, they're the biggest name. Liverpool are probably number 2. And then you've got like Arsenal, probably number 3 in name. Man City have gone up a lot in it, but obviously their recent history of Premier League, they haven't been there since the beginning. And then you've got the other clubs. Tottenham, like I said, just because of that and the stadium now, they've got the name, but in winning, they haven't actually really won anything. Except they've been in the Champions League, been there. Chelsea have got the name as well. Chelsea probably gone up in Premier League time, but overall, it's not huge, but they've got a following because of their Champions League success and
on the global stage, they've sort of, in the past, 15, 20 years, they've sort of gone up.
They've gone from being a normal club to being a big club.
Yeah, of course.
Obviously, Abramovich's money.
But
again, I have no issue with that.
No, there's no problem at all.
And because we've seen some fantastic sides, some fantastic managers, some opportunities to see some fantastic things. And they've broken up the hegemony of the other clubs, from the Man United hegemony and a bit of the others.
I think FFP. It's I'm in the middle, like you said. If they could sort of, change a few things, and like you said,
well, the problem is if you're trying to be fair, I can understand. Like I said, I understand Liverpool's point, but I don't think it really affects them. What they're worried about, I don't think it really makes any difference. Because
I think our biggest concern is just City, because we're going head to head against them.
Shall I give you an interesting fact? Let me give you this first. This is the Premier League standings, right? Of all time. So since the Premier League started. So there's basically 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Sorry, I can't count. I think there's been 6 clubs that have been in the Premier League all the way through. So Manchester United, Arsenal, Liverpool, Chelsea, Tottenham, and Everton. They've been in the Premier League all the way through. So they played all the games. So basically 1,211 games. Once you played Bournemouth, I think you're at the same level. You're 1 game behind. Right. So the standing in the league is Manchester United have 2,473 points out of those. Arsenal are second, which now that all is left, sorry, we can say that he's not here. It's 2,268 points. Liverpool are third with 2,221, so you're not that far behind. Chelsea are fourth, so that's where they've been brought up to 2,213. Tottenham are fifth with 1,887. Man City are only sixth. But they've only played 1,020 games. They've been out of the league.
Out of the league, of course,
And then there's 1,761 points. So like I said, overall, I'm not. And then Everton are seventh. With 1,627 points, but they played all the games. Newcastle, for all their thing where they go on about it, and they've spent money twice now, they're only eighth, and they're a fair bit behind Everton. Just wanted to put that out there. Aston Villa are ninth. They played 1,097 games, so similar to Newcastle, a few more.
Yeah.
They've been out of it as well. So it's 1,462 points. And then West Ham have been out of again. And everybody else then has been less. There's the usual, sort of suspects of people go up and down.
Yeah.
So people moan about Everton's thing, but they are where they, if you work out that on how much money is spent overall, Everton are where they should be. Actually, they're above in the last, if you take the last few seasons account of where they are. But it's money that makes a difference. All those clubs at the top have had money.
Yeah, I mean...
So to discount, like City have only caught up because they've had the money. Otherwise, they're not in that conversation. So I have no issue with that. Newcastle, for all the things. Newcastle tried it before. They had when they had this success when Kevin Keegan was there, was spending money.
Mid-90s.
And then they fell short. And then they've gone down again. And then they've come back up because of money. So obviously they're not going to complain, but I have no issue with that because if they didn't have that, they haven't really done anything.
Yeah.
And they have a huge support and all the thing. So whilst they can spend, I have no, because obviously they're more our competition than your guys' competition.
Yeah.
They're Villa and them and stuff are normally around where we are. But again, the thing is we could compete because if we'd allowed our owner to spend the money and theirs, we would have been spending the money. So from our point of view, obviously being a bit biased, but they couldn't spend the money that they can spend. But you can only buy so many players. And that's my thing. You shouldn't be restricting clubs from buying players, which is what we've had to sell all our best players.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with it. But I think
But it shouldn't threaten the survival of the club. My one is because like Leeds had the issue when they had the issue is because the survival of the club. And then there's other bean teams like who's the club that got 9 points taken off Portsmouth or somebody?
Portsmouth, yeah.
But it threatened the survival of the club.
It did, yeah.
And that I don't agree with. But people bringing it in, like spending the money to build a club up. Because people, they say all these, but what did Blackburn do? Blackburn bought the league.
That's true, yeah. 95.
And then nobody moans about them. They go on about the other clubs, but then Blackburn should be stripped because all they did was buy the league. But how is Blackburn going to buy Shearer and Sutton and all these other players and get a manager like Kenny Dalglish if they didn't have the money?
It's the owner,
so if you're gonna, how far are you going to go back? They should be. Everton have not gained any financial. They've not gained any on-pitch thing because where they are, what they spend, they're in the same position.
Yeah, to be fair, I'm surprised that the whole Blackburn story never gets.
Well, it never gets mentioned, and I'm like, well, they're the actual one they are.
It's a very romantic story, isn't it? Local boy, done good. He went in, put his money in, and then disturbed the peace, sort of thing, and won a league.
No, I think it's great.
It's great, I know, but
from my point of view. But if you're going to go on about people buying the leagues, they definitely bought the league.
It's comparable to what Abramovich done, to what City have done, but it's never reported.
Well, City have always been a big club, really, in support. Because obviously in Manchester, they have, they've been the competitors to Man United. Man United have obviously come up when the Premier League's come up. Man City haven't done as well because they didn't have the money. Then they've got the money. They've managed to get a stadium because of the situation, and they've done great. Fine. Like I said, I have no issue against it because we get to see Pep Guardiola manage in the league. We get to see all the great players in De Bruyne and co. And the way he plays is just. If I'm being honest, the only club that's actually worth watching because they actually play technically really good football is Man City in the Premier League. All right, there's Brighton and other clubs that have come afterwards. Arsenal are trying a bit, but the actual only one that really is just top dog,
pure football,
is Man City. Whether you like it or not, that's a personal choice. But it is because even Liverpool don't play that. Even United didn't in the back in the day play that level of football.
It's so technical what Guardiola does, and like I said, it's not for everyone because sometimes it can be a bit It's beautiful on the eye. But as a spectacle, it's not for everyone, I don't think. But
that's why I said it's what you like to watch. The English football normally isn't that. Even the Premier League, people go on about it's the best league. No, it's the best league in terms of physicality and pace and power. It's pace and power. Technically, even now, I think La Liga is better, and there's other. I think even Serie A is better technically than we are.
That's what I was saying to Tola when we touched on them playing Porto. Sometimes we don't respect all these teams on a continent because we think, Premier League best thingy league in a world, blah blah blah.
Really, it's just on money.
But technically, some of these teams can play you off the park.
Yeah.
100%.
And it's only Man City who plays like a continental side. They play that kind of football. All the other teams, even Liverpool's is just really good English level style.
And you know what? Touching on internationally as well, I think that's where England could fall short because they're getting better now. I think England have got more technical.
Don't worry, we got Jude Bellingham and he plays at Real Madrid.
I know, but I think you've got the likes of Foden and that. I think there's a lot more technical ability in the side, but
Foden's come because of Man City being allowed to do
that's
that.
what I'm saying. Yeah,
Chelsea's have a lot of good youngsters, even if they sell them on, is because they've had all those great foreign players come in. If you hadn't had that, I don't think the England team is as good as it is.
I think in years gone by, I think that's where England have fallen short.
Yeah,
whole golden generation and all that.
I don't think they've ever been that. The problem is, it's like they've said. I was reading, I think it's a Michael Owens one or something, where they said we just never had any tactics. Yeah. He goes, it was a Joe, the West Ham guy, and then went to Chelsea. Joe Cole. Yeah. And they say when we were around it, we had really good players, but there's no tactics or no nothing.
At the time, it was just, you're
putting together the best players, but there's no
whole debate
team.
Of you can't fit Scholes, Lampard, and Gerrard. You think no, because he was a rigid 4-4-2, wasn't he? That's what Sven used to do. And you think, when you've got those three, surely you can make it work. It doesn't need to be, fourth.
Well, now you would have. Of course, you'd have Scholes and then the other two and sitting, and you got the team.
That's what I'm saying, yeah.
I think a little bit we've got away from it, but I think there's still a bit of that in there. But the thing is this, that's why I said, Bellingham, I don't want him to come back as much as you want to come to Liverpool.
Oh, no, that's gone now. He's going to be there for a decade.
But it's what I said, Real Madrid, he's going to fly. And because he's not in the limelight every week, every weekend, every game in England, the papers don't say that much.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think the thing I said to you, and we've said it on one of the episodes, was Bellingham joining Real Madrid because he's out the limelight.
Yeah.
And look at him prosper. And I think if somebody's advised him that, maybe he was listening to our podcast, he's done well. And that's why I didn't want him to come back to England. It wasn't about the team.
Yeah.
Because I think he would have done well at Liverpool, but I think that would affect. I don't think he'd have done as well as he's done now.
Yeah.
And the people he's learning from, he's going to be a stellar player.
Yeah.
And then in future, if he wants to come back, once he's matured and gone long.
He's older, yeah.
But I think he can be the difference that England can succeed because he can raise that game. And he'll raise the other players up as well.
See, but then when you talk about pressure, I mean, the pressure of playing at Madrid, as a star player, that was my biggest worry for him, being so young, is going there as a marquee signing at such a tender age. I just thought, ooh, it's not everyone that can handle that sort of the expectations.
Well, I didn't expect him to do as well as he's done. I expect him to do well because of Ancelotti and because of the thing, and because there's other players there. You're not the main one, although he has sort of become it, which has exceeded expectations.
So that was my.
But he's not got the British press after him.
Yeah.
So whilst he's got the pressure of playing, but then he's played at Dortmund.
True, but then in Madrid
80,000 fans.
When you play for Madrid, it's like.
Yeah, it's uber pressure because it's the best club in the world.
You've got newspapers watching every training session and, the cameras every day, and it's the same thing.
No, you've got that, but it doesn't affect the England team.
The
English press would have been like, it's a different thing, and then it would have affected his performance.
But I'm saying if you can handle the Madrid pressure, it's a similar sort of thing, isn't it?
But you're not in the limelight, because if you see a lot of these players, English players, when they're here, they've faltered because they're in every time. Yeah. Now it's a distance. Yeah, the Madrid ones will, but they want him to win, so he's flown. They're going to support because they'll go through. Yeah. If he doesn't perform or Madrid don't perform, they'll slag everybody off. But
it's not going to be individually.
It will be probably, but they will say. But because he's flying, he's got his name now.
Yeah.
And the thing I think he had there is because you've got the other players around you who've got you the support. They're going to win anyway. Mostly, they're going to be doing decent. I thought he was going to fly. I mean, like I said, he's exceeded what I thought in the first season. I thought he would be like this second.
I mean, I thought he was going to succeed, but what he's doing is it's off the charts, isn't it?
But Ancelotti, best manager of all time.
Yeah.
That's a separate episode. We need to do a manager's one. Yeah. But it is. If you look at his philosophy and his the way of developing players, it's basically it's not converting them into something else. It's making them it's allowing them to be the best version of themselves.
Yeah.
And that's sort of Ancelotti's philosophy, isn't it? They know what they're doing.
Yeah.
My job is just to fit in. Like, how do I fit all these great players into a combined team?
Yeah.
Because he missed out on Baggio, didn't he, in Serie A? Going back to Serie A, he missed out on when he was at Milan. I think it was at Milan, or he had the chance to have sign Baggio, but he didn't sign him because he couldn't fit him into like his 4-4-2 system.
Okay.
Because he's obviously a number 10.
Yeah.
And they signed somebody else, and Baggio won the league for Juventus or something. By scoring 20-odd goals, and then he's changed his philosophy. That's why he likes number 10s.
Okay.
Which is what Bellingham is there, which he's had James, he's had these other number 10s. Kaká. Then he got Kaká, didn't he? And then they won the league again and did all the things.
Yeah.
But that's how he got into that. That's how he changed. He realised he'd made a mistake. And he's adaptable. And that's why I think he's the best. I think these ones with systems are good, but the system can always be beat.
That's true. Because once it's been worked out and figured out, then you need to rip it up and start again.
Yeah.
But,
Then the likes of Klopp and Guardiola are good enough that they can amend it,
And
but they still get found out, and then they get the next day improved. You need to evolve it.
Evolve all the time, don't you?
But I think that's for the England team, that'd be the thing. And then you keep that. I think we were making the point about where you see. So you've got some line for your youngsters to develop, and then you only have a certain number of players. I think that's how you keep it fair, because then you can't. So the problem would be if a club goes out and buys 50 players, which they've allowed. Like Chelsea used to have a huge number, and Man City haven't really done that much of it. Chelsea have done more, isn't it? So I'm going to get the thing I wanted to do. Go on.
No, I was going to say, going back to the whole FFP thing, I think it should be there in place to stop the likes of, overnight, sort of. Chelsea finished, I remember it was 2003, I think. They qualified for the Champions League. Roman comes in and bars them, and overnight, I think you start signing everyone. So I think FFP, even though you're all for it, but I think that there should be a number to it, where you can't just come from the bottom of the league and go and sign 20. Well, then again, I suppose why not? I don't know.
Well, let me give you an interesting. I've got a table, but I think I haven't got it. I can't remember which phone I've saved it on, but I'll dig it out for another one. But over the last 10 years, right, transfer spend. This is on actual. The most spent is Man United, 1.79 billion.
That's crazy.
Their net spend is over $1 billion, 1.326 billion.
City can't be too far behind, I'm presuming.
No, number 2. Guess who it is?
Chelsea?
Nope.
Are we talking in England or in Europe?
It's the highest. This is a net spend order in Premier League in the last 10 years, I think. Up till, I think this might be since 2014, so to now.
Okay, so you got United at the top.
Yeah, their net spend was 1.326 billion. They've won 4 trophies at a net spend of 331 million per trophy.
Okay.
So who's the second club in the last 10 years?
I guess City or Chelsea, but...
Ola's team?
Is it Arsenal? Wow.
They've had a net spend of £995 million, nearly 996 million. They've won 4 trophies and a net spend of 248 million per trophy. I think
the majority
overall spending, they were 1.38 billion, but they've only got back in 386, so they're about nearly $1 billion.
That net spend has gone up. I think it's probably in the last few windows.
Well, they spent 100 million in
the last few windows, under Arteta.
But that's how they've got back in.
Exactly.
So if you didn't, okay. Number 3,
City has to be.
Nope.
No, Chelsea.
Yeah.
Okay.
Chelsea have spent 2.37 billion, but they have pulled in 1.38, so they're actually 990. They're just below Arsenal, 992 million.
No, they sell well, to be fair.
Yeah, and they've won 8 trophies, so the net spend per trophy is 124 million.
Okay. Yeah.
Next.
Man City, sure.
Nope.
No, is it Liverpool? Oh, wow, okay.
They've spent 1.22 billion, but they pulled in a decent amount in it, 769 million.
And net spend.
So the net spend's 450. So it's a big drop off if you're from the top 3. They won 6 trophies for 75 million a trophy. So not bad. That's pretty efficient.
Yeah.
All right. Next one, number 5. Go on.
City has to come in. I'm surprised they've not spent that much though.
The City have spent 1.79 billion, but if you actually look at it, it's not that much compared to some of the others. But they pulled back in 724 million.
So they've been since 2014, did you say?
Yeah.
To be fair though, City had probably already done the largest bulk of their buy. You know when Sheikh Mansour come in? So the spending between 08 and 14 would have been quite substantial. And then
well, no, I think they've started spending bigger in about 2013 or 14.
I'm trying to think.
Because it wasn't straight away Sheikh Mansour, it was somebody else. It was the Thai or whatever. They put in a bit, whoever was.
Shinawatra or whatever his name was.
They put in a little bit in and then they've taken over.
Yeah.
So they did have, you've got to put in these time windows you've also got to allow. But the thing is just to give you context, if you allow the 10 years is when they won most of the trophies.
Yeah.
So they've actually, but the thing is they've sold a lot of players. So their net spend is, this is net spend per trophy. So actually the net spend is higher because there's $1 billion. but it's not that much more than Arsenal's. So actually, Liverpool are low down. But this is net spend per trophy. So they've won 15 trophies, but they've only spent 71 million per trophy.
Yeah, that's because they've won loads of trophies, yeah.
The next one you're going to like. Who's the next on the list?
Number 6. It's not Everton, is it?
No,
I was going to
not
say.
even close.
Yeah.
Big 6 club.
What's Tottenham? Yeah.
They're the only one left. They spent over $1 billion, 1.17 billion, but they pulled back in nearly 700. So their net spend is 480. So they're actually higher than you. But trophies won.
Zilch.
So infinity is.
Yeah.
But that's not the one I wanted. There's a net spend one. And
on the net, I think I've seen the net spend one. Because I think we're at the number 506. Pretty low. As far as net goes. Because especially if it's in the last 10 years we sold some big players, Coutinho, Suarez. So there was a lot of money coming in.
Well, the worst actually is I think Chelsea, but Man City are actually quite good in it because if you actually do it over all time, they're not that high up the list.
Yeah.
Where is this? No, that's not that's just spends. I need to dig out this table, and it's quite interesting. And then if you actually look at where Everton are, they're right near the bottom because their actual net spend is actually low. And Liverpool are higher than where you would expect them to be. And Man City are actually below them.
Are they?
Because they've sold out a lot of players in the thing, isn't it? Man United are top by a huge amount, I think.
Yeah.
Then I think Chelsea are quite high up, but not that bad because they have actually sold in past seasons.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I'm surprised with the Liverpool one because normally it's in order to make a big buy, it's not until we sell and bring in substantial amount of money.
But they have spent before. That's the thing, innit? They've started on, I need to dig it out. It's not on here. And it's actually surprising. And when you actually look at the numbers, it's not that much. Like people going about Everton's, but it actually over their net spend isn't, and especially in the last season, because the last 3 seasons they've made a profit on it.
Yeah.
So the actual spending, when you balance it out over the time of Mashiri's reign, they're actually really low down the list. Even like against like smaller teams, they're really, really low.
Yeah.
Down the list. So that's the thing. What advantage have they taken? They haven't.
Yeah.
And even Man City's is actually going down because they've sold a lot of players. Because in the last few seasons they've sold a fair few players. Suddenly they've gone. Because like Ferran Torres and they've
who else?
Cancelo, and a few others, and they're like 50, 60 million each, but they've had a load of them, and they've only really bought Haaland, and they bought him cheap.
Sane,
Sane as well, and a few.
Mahrez went. There's
and they pushed it down. Sterling, they made a lot of money, and they've actually pushed it down. It's a bit like what Chelsea used to do because they had the players, they bought them.
Yeah.
So actually, net spend and if you look at it like that, Man United are the worst.
Yeah.
So why should they be allowed to spend? Because the only reason they've been successful is because they got the TV money and they commercialize faster. Does it actually make sense? Is it actually fair?
It's not fair, is it? Yeah.
No,
it's not. We'll see what happens. Especially, I'm intrigued to see the outcome of the Man City, the whole thing, see where that goes. Because I think the Premier League have sort of they've set a standard now. Because if you're going to deduct Everton by 10 points,
if they're going to deduct 10 points just for Everton's one thing, and it's like a nonsense thing, which it's going to get appealed and knocked down.
Yeah.
Now they're trying to do another one, but how can you do another one on the same time period? It's just like the year after, but you've already got them 3. You can't punish for that and then add on. That should be a fresh one. And if they actually think it's a fresh one, Everton are in profit.
Yeah.
So that doesn't make a difference. And actually, if you follow the correct rules, Everton should be like I said, capitalise that cost. Because if money that you spend on a stadium isn't included in FFP, or I don't know if the profit and sustainability rules, but it's not included in FFP. But there's some silly rule that you've got to count it until you put a spade in the ground.
Okay.
And that's what the problem is. This is the crossover season where they put the training ground, and you had COVID, and the main sponsors and all of that are gone.
Right.
So if you look at Everton's reasons for it, in the COVID season, they would have made 260 million. They would have been in that, like a fair bit above everybody else, and just below, and a little bit, a fair bit below the bigger clubs, the top 6 type thing.
Yeah.
But they would have been bridging it because there was like 350, 400 million is the bottom of that bit, and 280, 180, 190 is the top of this.
Yeah.
You're like other clubs, and Everton would have jumped it up. Because their revenue and everything was climbing, the commercial revenue and everything else.
Yeah.
And because of COVID, they went down, and that's why they've got stuck on it.
Yeah.
So all these papers going on, none of them understand it. They're not the finance experts. None of them understand it. They're just talking nonsense.
Yeah.
And the punishment for that, 10 points for that, is a joke.
It is. I mean,
it should just get rescinded. They should just take it away and just say, look, slap on the wrist, here's a fine for £1 million or whatever it is, go.
Well, that's what I was going to say. It seems over the top, but then, listen, if you've set that standard, and if it could get deducted to 6 points or whatever, but if a point deduction is what we're doing, if that's the precedent set, then for Man City, they've got 115 charges. They're not going to beat all of them, I don't think, because you keep hearing, they're going to keep kicking a can down the road.
No, but like 80 odd of them are, or 40 odd of them are for not playing ball.
Yeah.
So you're not going to get a point deduction for that.
Of course.
Their actual things is only small number. It's about 20 or 30 or something, isn't it? But still 20 or 30 times one.
These 20 are serious, though. These are serious allegations that they're being accused of. And like you said, even if a quarter of those 20 sticks, they're in a world of trouble. And
I don't think Man City want to get anything.
Do you not think? But then how so that? Because like I said,
they're too rich.
But then there's been a standard set. You can't be seen to sort of punish the littler guys more harshly and then turn the other way.
No, I think they're going to make a big show of it. This is what I think is going to happen. I think they're going to make a big show of punishing. So because Everton's been singled out, they've got to roll Nottingham Forest in.
Yeah,
I feel sorry for Nottingham Forest fans. But they made these the scapegoats. I think with City, they're going to fight it to show that they fought it. Fight it hard to show, we're making it. Oh, actually, no, they didn't do anything wrong. That's what's going to come out in City.
You think?
Yeah.
I can see, obviously.
They're going to beat it because they can afford the best lawyers. They've got all the things behind them. They ain't going to get punished. So no trophy or nothing is going to be taken away from them.
I can still see some sort of like point deductions, I think, because they've got so many...
They won't get anything because they're contesting it. They haven't admitted to anything. So there's no... Everton only got done because they admitted to it. If they thought it, which is what they should have done, they should have admitted to it. They shouldn't have played ball. They should have gone the other way, as what Forest should do. But because they're like admitting it because they've gone wrong, because it's not really a breach.
Yeah.
It's not really a breaking of rules. And I think that's what Everton have been too nice because they're too nice a club. City aren't going to admit it now. Well, if they were going to do it before and play ball, I don't think they're going to play now.
No, of course not.
And to be honest, if I was them, I wouldn't. I'd just drag it out and say, look, you're talking nonsense and none of this is going to happen. So they'll drag it out, and they'll get to the end, actually, no, it's okay. That's it. And no points deductions, no nothing. They didn't breach any rules. That's where Man City's is going to get to. No matter what everybody else wants, that's where it's going to get to.
It'll be fast. I'm fascinated.
They're too good at what they do. The Premier League are not as good as them, nor can the Premier League spend the money that Man City can.
They haven't got the revenue.
They can only bully teams like Everton and Nottingham Forest.
True. I mean, some of the figures...
And if Everton had their real backer there, I don't think they'd have bullied Everton. I don't think that would have happened.
I mean, apparently, City, apparently, they're paying the top lawyer, that Lord Panic, they're paying him the same salary that De Bruyne's on.
Yeah.
400 grand a week.
Good solicitors ain't cheap. Good barristers.
On legal fees, though. 400 grand a week.
Yeah, they can afford it.
They can't they? But
I don't think they're going to get found of anything. I think they'll just get to a point where they're just going to say, we've tried, we've done everything. Actually, we were wrong. They're all compliant.
But those fees, I'm also intrigued. As far as, their accounts go, where does that figure fall? Does that fall...
No, you got to remember now that they've won, they're earning like the same amount of money as you lot are, and I think it's 600 million a year.
But these legal fees, so that amount, where's that? Is that going to go into?
That's why they haven't spent loads on players. They'll be making a profit now. They're making a profit now.
Of course, yeah.
So they'll be 50 million, 100 million a year. So 350,000, whatever a week or whatever they're playing. Then even overcapitalized over a year, it's not that much money.
Especially after a treble season.
It's 10 million, 20 million. They can afford that. Their issue isn't from that, it's from the sponsorship, dodgy sponsorships from the beginning. But they'll be able to knock it up because they own the whole chain. So they can knock up dodgy invoices and this, that, the other. Whatever they need to do, sponsorship deals. I don't think they got anything. They haven't done anything to PSG. PSG were more dodgy than Man City.
Yeah.
And Man City got done when FFP came for them. They actually solved it. It's only the Premier League. This is the PSR rules, not the FFP, because they got back into Europe. They didn't get anything for the Europe because the rules are nonsense. That's the problem. The thing they're trying to enforce ain't going to work against somebody who goes, "Wait a minute, no, that's not correct."
No, hold on.
Only idiots like Everton who hold their hands up.
Just
I'm disappointed at Everton for holding their hands up. I think Everton have always been too nice. Every time they've had things go against them, they don't fight it.
They just accept it as is,
and they shouldn't have.
Yeah.
And allowing themselves to be bullied, and I hate bullies, and that's the thing that gets me. So the FFP rules, PSR rules are a load of nonsense.
No, they are.
They should just be scrapped and gone. And you make a limit on you can't do what salary cap that a lot of these people talk about, because the problem is these people don't understand how a business works. And most fans of football don't. I don't think most people running football clubs understand how business works, to be honest. Let's be fair. But if they're going to actually make a fair league and make it sustainable and going on, the rule should be for sustainability. If you're dumping £1 billion into a club, which like Newcastle's owners could do, you can't threaten the survival of the club. And they should also put in caveats that they have to invest in the infrastructure, as Man City have done.
They have.
Because they've taken basically, I was going to swear then, but a not very good area and made it far nicer. So they've invested in the stadium, and they're expanding the stadium. They've got to invest in the infrastructure, the training grounds and all these things. And then you can spend this amount of money. I think that's the thing that should be. And then it doesn't hinder the other clubs that are already there, because you've got nice training ground, as have we. You've got nice, the stadium's been expanded, the other things. So all of them are good. And then player bases is just that. Because like I said, they're only going to get so many of the top players aren't going to go and sit on a bench. And if they do, they're not top players. Because any top player doesn't matter about money. You're going to get the money. You want to play. You want to show that you are the best. And there's enough for them to go round for all the teams. I think the Premier League would get better.
Agreed.
It'd actually become more sporting merit league, and the quality would go up.
So before any billionaire takes over, that should be part of the fit and proper test.
It's fit and proper shouldn't be we think they're dodgy. It's how much money. It shows you've got the money and you're going to put it in.
And then also, if you dump in that amount of money, like you said, for the club to be sustained, if you decide to walk away, write that off.
You any money you put in, you've got to write it off, that if it isn't going to be made back. Obviously, you're basing it on the fact that you're going to take it from 200 million turnover to 400 million turnover. That's what Mashiri's trying to do at Everton, is to catch up to things so you're in the Champions League. The problem is every time they've got to the point, they've just fallen short. But if you look at, people moan about their transfer activity hasn't been great. And I want to do an episode on this actually, because I think there's a lot, even fan channels and Everton supporters make all this nonsense about it. If you actually look at their activity, it's pretty damn good. The problem is they've always got a point where they haven't, and I think Sean Dyche has meant that they haven't balanced the squad. They've had some fantastic players. Like all the people moaning about Gomez. Oh, he done this, he's the high earner. Look at his free kick. If you give him a chance to play, and before he got injured by Son, he was fantastic. He's one of the best midfielders in the league, which he was at Villarreal or wherever he was before Barcelona. Why Barcelona bought him? He's a player from Barcelona. He's not going to be that bad.
Of course,
And I'm for fairness, and a financial fair play. Just to me, it's not fair play.
Not fair, is it?
It's cartel protection.
It is. It's to keep.
And you're part of the cartel club, so you accept.
It's unfortunately I am, but I've never really thought of it from that sort of viewpoint, from being outside
but the thing is, I know Liverpool fans are worried, but I don't think it damages Liverpool's chances. I think Liverpool are always going to be there. They're too big a club where they're not. Whatever happens, they will always be there. The only thing is, your owners will sell and somebody else will come in richer.
But that's it.
But
that's
Liverpool ain't going to have a shortage of people who want to buy them.
That's true. Currently, the only problem we've got is our owners are stingy.
But that's the owners, not
that's not
the
to
rules.
do with FFP.
Yeah. But they've been sensible and they built it good. And I don't think, like you said, your spend per trophy is pretty low. Although Man City's is better.
No, they've done
which
a great
you wouldn't
job.
have expected.
Yeah, they've done a great job, to be fair. They've done it the proper way, I'd say. But then who's to say what's the proper way and what's the improper way?
Well, Liverpool's situation where they were to where they've got him is fantastic. Because you weren't in the brink of going then. What would you then? If you were in that situation, what do you do? Though the first set ruined you, the second set's built you, and you've won a Champions League, you won a league title. It's good.
We've won it all. That's what,
And all the other trophies in between. So, and you're in the fight.
Yeah.
The point isn't the amount you win, it's being in the fight. You've been in the fight, 4-5 seasons?
It's competing. We're always there.
And I think you've got to give that chance to all the other clubs, because what's the point of turning up if you're not going to compete?
Yeah.
There's the clubs who are going to come up, fine, because they've got to compete to stay in the Premier League. But the clubs that are established in the Premier League, at least the top 10, all should be competing for that league title.
No, but FSG, I mean, they've got their detractors, but I'm a huge fan, because I think when you look back what they've done ever since taking over, I can't fault them personally. On and off the pitch, the stadium has been sort of...
And I don't even think the Glazers, the Man United fans going about the Glazers, they've spent more money than Man City. And people moan about Man City. They've spent more money than... I mean, Chelsea might have gone above it now, but because they spent... But the last time I seen it was I think it was Man U, then it's either Chelsea or City, but Man U spent more money. They can't argue that other clubs have a fair advantage. I can understand Liverpool's point of view, but I can't understand theirs.
Yeah.
And even Liverpool are still only fourth in that division of spending or there over the time. So it does relate to how much money you can spend, and you've got to give the other clubs a chance to catch up. They can't catch up 200 million in revenue unless you give them a chance to spend it. And realistically, anybody buying a club, you've got to put 200 million as a net spend advantage to catch up to those teams.
That's what I'm saying, yeah. And if you don't do that, then there's no chance.
And that's what Everton fell down. It wasn't that they spent too much. They didn't spend enough.
Yeah. Ironically,
It's not enough to succeed. But they were trying to do it where they were growing it, trying to be sensible, trying to follow the rules and build it up. They've just been unlucky in all the things. The timings have been wrong. Yeah. And Newcastle can do. That's why I said to use Newcastle. Yeah, it's fine. We're having them. They can't spend it, so it doesn't matter.
No, they can't.
They've had a boost, which is great. They've got to the Champions League, which is like a thing Everton didn't manage. Well, they did get close to, but they were never allowed to play in it. Newcastle have had it. They've gone out, but you need to do it again and again and again. And they're not going to get in this year.
No, they're not. But then
which we predicted in an earlier video. Just watch and see.
But then I'm presuming that on the back of what they done by playing in the Champions League this year, in the summer coming up,
they'll
can spend a little bit more.
They'll spend a bit, but they won't be able to do the big thing. They'll just have to the balance, because the revenue and the thing is only going to be a little bit more, and they'll be paying for the players they've already bought.
And the wages and things.
And all that goes up, so they'll have to balance it out. But they're in a better position because they'll get that money that will top up their balance a bit.
It's a slight advantage, but
it's
you need to
40 million, and it's not going to be small. It's going to be a decent jump up.
It needs to be consistent, doesn't it?
It needs to be consistent. But then if with that, they may be able to get in again if they don't get injuries and stuff next season.
Yeah.
But you've got to be able to put, realistically, they need to be put another 100 million in, and then another, even if it's one or two players, but you strengthen them up to Champions League level players.
100 mil, it's in order to keep up. It's not to
you're not going to catch up. That's what Everton were just on the brink, because they were trying to keep up, but their net spend was only like 70, 80 million a season. You need to be in the 200 million to buy world class players. Be smart.
Yeah, in order to overtake an established Champions League club, you need to spend big.
To become established, you need to spend 200 million for about 3 seasons.
Plus,
well, I think if you do it in one go, like a Chelsea, it doesn't work. I think you've got to do it you may not need to spend 200 million, but you should have the potential to, because you may go like if I was looking at Everton and what do we need, right? Back 4 defense is okay. We need really an attacking midfielder, and we need a striker and a winger. Well, how much is that going to cost you? 120, 30 million. If you buy 40 million players, if you buy like an Isaac with 60 million, 70 million to put in as a striker, well, then that's your budget gone.
Yeah.
Realistically, and Everton's budget is about 60 million a year if they were on normal revenue.
Yeah.
But we need a winger or 2, really.
Yeah.
And we need an attacking midfielder. Well, attacking midfielders aren't cheap.
Yeah.
And even if you're buying 40 million players, it's 120 million. And realistically, we need a backup, really a right back or a full back that can play in both. We need a backup centre half because if Branthwaite's injured, we can't. The others are okay, but we need. You haven't got somebody with his height and pace and coverage, and you're looking at that. That's the money that we need to be competing for the Champions League thing.
And the only problem is that the teams that you're trying to overtake aren't standing still either.
Yeah, and they're adding, so you need to compete.
To improve. So it's a bit of a
And the fact that Everton have improved this season is a great thing, but people think, we haven't got this, that, the other. They've done a great bit of business, and actually over the 3 seasons they've been but we've had to sell our best players.
Yeah.
And that ruins the sporting part for me. It should be, you should be within reason. I understand, but the fact that it works out is, like I said in Serie A, they had ridiculous money then. They were the richest teams. Everybody had them because you could only buy so many. And then there's like the AC Milan used to have the 3 Dutchmen. Well, the 3 Germans were at Inter Milan. You had Bremer, what's his name, Mateus, and the striker, Klinsmann.
Klinsmann, yeah.
And they had the 3 Dutchmen, so Gullit, Van Basten, Rijkaard.
Rijkaard, yeah.
And then Juventus, you had they had a couple of them, but they had good Italian players as well.
Yeah.
And then you got like Fiorentina had theirs, Batigol and all of them, you know, Batistuta and co. And you had like players, the other clubs, they all had really good players.
Yeah.
It balances out.
It does, yeah.
And then if you look at it, like, I think this is another one for another one, we'll leave it sort of there. But if you look, when we had that world-class players thing, how many world-class players are there outside of, you've got Salah and the goalkeeper, what's his name? Alisson.
Yeah.
And Van Dijk.
Yeah. That's it, yeah.
Man City's Ederson, probably.
Haaland, obviously, De Bruyne. Rodri.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then you go Man United. Casemiro, but yeah, he's really at the end of his tail. Who else is world class? Bruno was up and down. Is he really world class?
No.
Who else?
That's it. You're scratching your head, aren't you?
Yeah. And then next club, if you go Tottenham.
Son.
Yeah.
I'd say Son's world class.
Well, it was Son and Kane, but like Kane's gone, so Son is the only one really who's out of their world class level. You go to who's next? Arsenal. Because Odegaard's the best player, but is he really world class?
I don't think they've got.
Not yet. There isn't one.
They've got players knocking.
Saka could be. Martinelli could be. Rice. He could be, but they're not there yet. Declan Rice could be, but
in
he's
his
not
position
there yet.
is knocking, but he's not quite there yet.
They're younger teams, so they're not. But there's nobody.
No.
And that's one of the third place team.
Yeah.
And then you go next one with whatever, like who's
Chelsea, Newcastle, Villa, whoever. You're struggling. There's no one else in this league. Yeah.
There's no real world class players. Yeah. Villa have got good players, and probably a couple in position, but like
but no, yes, it should be a lot fairer, which is ironic because FFP,
it's never going to be fair. But it'd be like this: if you know you're not going to win, but you're going to compete, but you've got you're watching Baggio or you're watching Batistuta or somebody else.
Yeah.
You're going to watch a football. You love it anyway because you've got a chance. Because if you've got a Baggio or a Batistuta or whoever, you've got a chance of winning the game.
Yeah.
Right, all right, we have chances of winning the game now, but it's only we're working our socks off. When we had hammers, we had a chance of winning the game against anybody.
Yeah.
And we had to sell him because of some, the spy from the... And on that note, the bitterness, we will leave. I think that's long enough.
We've done our best there.
Yeah, we've done the best to cover the FFP thing. From two sides, from both sides. So, anything else to say on it?
No, it was interesting to, hear it from the points of view from the guys outside, because I'd never really thought of it that way. But, no, you've opened my eyes, really.
Well, I think you've got to look at it from all perspectives. I've looked at a point where you can understand, you don't want to compete against a club if you're just buying all of them. But I was looking back and thinking, and then if you spread it out.
Yeah.
Everybody is, because they're all owned by billionaires now. So you get more and more billions. Yeah, you can have the state, but if you limit them to... There's fairer ways of limiting.
Yeah. And
I think the one is, you got to try and protect football so you don't just keep buying players. But you've got to make it so you sort of push clubs to bring through talent and look at talent and then limit the number of players they can get there. And then everybody can buy. Because there's 100 great players. Well, you've covered 5, 6, 7, 8 teams, 10 teams.
Yeah.
And if 10 teams competing, it's exciting because everybody does it. Like Aston Villa this season. I don't really like Aston Villa, I'll be honest.
Yeah.
Because just never really been a thing of them. And they were sort of our level club.
Yeah.
Never been a fan. I like them this year because they're competing.
They're competing,
Even though I think we got beaten one of the other games or whatever it was by quite a lot.
Yeah.
It's good to see because they're competing.
Because it's disturbing the normal order, if you like, and which...
I don't mind if the normal teams win, but they should deserve to win. Not just be there because everybody else is rubbish. They should be there because they're the best.
Because,
And they're competing. And then you've got these teams pushing them to make them better. I want to watch the best football. And to be honest, a little bit of the times, other than watching, when the Man City-Liverpool thing was great, not being a Liverpool supporter, not being a Man City supporter, it was fantastic. I used to watch every game from both of them because you're like, what's going to happen here? And some of the football, some of the things, the competition level, the thing, it was fantastic for me. I want to see that. Best competition, best push teams. Not just, they turn up, Man City's going to win. Liverpool going to be second.
And it becomes a bit like that, doesn't it?
It becomes... Okie dokie. Cool. Thank you very much, Jules. Thank you guys for watching, listening, whichever one you're doing. Comments what you think of FFP and PSR and all those things.
Let us know.
Yeah. And like, subscribe, and the usual dislike if you think we're talking nonsense. That's whatever you want to do.
Which I'm sure a few will.
But, yeah. All is on there now. Thank you. We'll see you in the next one.
On to the next one.